What if everything you think you know about the Druids is a carefully constructed illusion? What if their true wisdom, their real power, was erased, distorted, or buried beneath layers of myth and misinformation? The Druids were more than just nature priests or mystic sages. They were the keepers of an ancient system of knowledge so profound that even the might of the Roman Empire sought to destroy it. But why? What secrets did the Druids possess that made them a threat to the world's most powerful forces? And more importantly, why does this knowledge remain hidden to this very day? The truth about the Druids is far more complex, far more esoteric, and far more powerful than you have ever been told. To understand the Druids, you must go beyond the fairy tales and romanticized folklore. You must strip away the sanitized narratives of modern history and dive deep into the forbidden teachings of an ancient order that understood the fabric of reality itself. The Druids were not just priests, they were scientists, philosophers, magicians, and rulers of the unseen. They held the keys to alchemy, sacred geometry, and the hidden forces that shape our world. And their knowledge, like that of the Hermeticists, the Gnostics, and the alchemists, was systematically erased by those who feared its power. But the fragments remain. Hidden in myths, embedded in symbols, whispered through generations. And if you know where to look, you can begin to piece together the puzzle. You can uncover the truth that was meant to be lost forever. This is the full story of the Druids, the knowledge they held, the power they wielded, and the war that was waged to silence them forever. The origins of the Druids, keepers of the primordial wisdom. The Druids did not emerge from nowhere. Their teachings were not random or disconnected from the greater mystery traditions of the ancient world. To understand them, we must look beyond Britain and Ireland, beyond the Celtic lands, and into the depths of prehistory. Druidic knowledge is believed to be an extension of an even older wisdom tradition, one that predates recorded history. Some researchers suggest connections to the lost civilizations of Atlantis or Hyperborea, remnants of a once unified spiritual system that spanned continents before it was shattered by cataclysms. Others believe that the Druids inherited their wisdom from the megalithic builders, those who erected stone circles, dolmens, and sacred sites that still defy explanation to this day. Whatever their true origins, the Druids became the custodians of a vast, intricate body of knowledge. They did not write it down, for they understood the power of the spoken word, the power of oral tradition. This was not mere superstition, it was a safeguard against corruption. Writing could be altered, destroyed, rewritten to serve political agendas. But a living tradition, passed from master to student, could remain pure for thousands of years. The secret teachings of the Druids. What made the Druids unique was not just their connection to nature, but their understanding of the unseen forces that govern existence. The modern world paints them as simple tree worshippers, but the reality is far more complex. The Druids mastered what we might now call metaphysics, quantum consciousness, and sacred science. Their teachings revolved around several key principles. 1. The doctrine of the three worlds. The Druids believed in three fundamental realms of existence: the otherworld, a plane of spirit and divine intelligence, where souls reside before birth and after death; the middle world, the realm of human experience, bound by time and space; the underworld, not a place of punishment, but a realm of ancestral wisdom and deep transformation. Through rituals, meditation, and certain plants now lost to time, the Druids could traverse these realms, communicating with spirits, drawing knowledge from beyond, and even manipulating reality itself. 2. The power of sacred geometry and the ley lines. Many of the ancient megalithic sites associated with the Druids, Stonehenge, Newgrange, Avebury, are positioned along what we now call ley lines, energy pathways that crisscross the earth. The Druids did not stumble upon these locations by chance. They understood how to harness Earth's natural energy, using stone circles as resonators for consciousness, portals between dimensions, and tools for energetic amplification. 3. The spoken word as a tool of creation. Words were not merely sounds to the Druids, they were forces of manifestation. To name something was to control it. This is why Druidic teachings were oral. It was believed that true knowledge, when spoken correctly, had the power to shape reality itself. This concept is mirrored in the Hermetic principle of mentalism, that all reality is shaped by thought and consciousness. For nature as a reflection of the divine, unlike monotheistic religions that placed divinity in the sky, separate from humanity, the Druids saw nature as the living body of the divine. Every tree, river, and stone held consciousness. Oak trees, in particular, were considered sacred because they were believed to be conduits of cosmic knowledge. The word Druid itself is thought to derive from the Proto-Indo-European root dru, meaning oak, and weed, meaning to see, essentially, oak seers or those who perceive hidden knowledge. The Druidic path to manifestation, the true law of attraction. Modern spirituality often speaks of the law of attraction, the idea that thoughts shape reality. But what if this concept, as it is taught today, is only a shadow of a deeper, more powerful truth? The Druids understood that manifestation was not just about thinking positively, it was about aligning one's entire being with the forces of the universe. To the Druids, manifestation was not a passive act but an active process involving focused intention. The mind alone was not enough. Willpower had to be trained and sharpened like a blade. Energetic alignment, actions, emotions, and vibrations had to match the desired outcome, a concept mirrored in the Hermetic principle of correspondence. Sacred rituals, Druids performed intricate ceremonies to tap into cosmic forces, utilizing specific locations, times, and offerings to amplify their intent. Unlike the modern self-help version of the law of attraction, which suggests simply visualizing success, the Druids knew that true manifestation required sacrifice, discipline, and attunement to natural cycles. They observed the movements of celestial bodies, understanding that certain times of the year held more power for different forms of creation. Through this deep understanding, the Druids were able to shape their reality, not just through thought but through mastery of universal forces. The legacy of Druidic spirituality. Though the original Druids were systematically eradicated, their spiritual knowledge did not vanish. It survived, encoded in folklore, hidden in the symbols of secret societies, and passed down through esoteric traditions. Even today, the echoes of their teachings persist in modern paganism, Wicca, and the revival of Druidry. The key to reclaiming their wisdom is not in books or recorded histories, it is in reconnecting with the unseen forces they once understood so well. By aligning with nature, by understanding the power of thought, and by recognizing that reality is not fixed but fluid, one can begin to walk the path the Druids once tread. But this is not the end of their story. The deeper we dig, the more we uncover, and in the next section, we will explore the forbidden rituals, lost symbols, and hidden messages that still remain, waiting to be deciphered by those with the eyes to see. As the Roman Empire tightened its grip on Celtic lands, the Druids faced a crossroads, relinquish their practices or push their teachings further underground. The most dedicated adepts chose secrecy, encrypting sacred knowledge in symbols, oral legends, and arcane rituals reserved for only the most trustworthy initiates. This is why countless folk tales and medieval texts still contain fragments, fleeting references that hint at something far greater lying beneath the surface. The hidden practices and rituals. One of the most mysterious aspects of Druidic culture lies in their ceremonies and ritual practices. Unlike formalized religions with codified scriptures and strict liturgies, the Druids worked with nature's rhythms, aligning their rituals with the solstices, equinoxes, and the changing of the seasons. Key festivals, Samhain, Imbolc, Beltane, Lughnasadh, were not mere celebrations, they were gateways into different phases of cosmic energy. Samhain, pronounced Samhain, marking the end of the harvest season, this was a time when the veil between the worlds was said to be at its thinnest. The Druids performed ancestor rites, divination, and rituals to honor those who had passed. Far from being a spooky fest, it was a profound communion with the realm of spirits and energies beyond the physical plane. Imbolc, celebrated at the beginning of February, Imbolc was dedicated to purification and new life. This transitional period was when seeds resting in the earth began to stir, echoing the Druidic belief that deep transformations often happen beneath the surface before they manifest in the open. Beltane, associated with fertility and the return of lushness, Beltane was a time of joy, union, and blessing the land for abundance. Fires were lit on hilltops, mirroring the Druids' understanding that fire is a transformative force, an alchemical element capable of turning old forms into something new. Lughnasadh, celebrated in August, this festival honored the first harvest and the cyclical exchange between humanity and the earth. It highlighted the principle of reciprocity. That to receive sustenance from nature, one must also give back, whether in offerings, gratitude, or mindful stewardship. Through these festivals, the Druids taught that spiritual energy ebbs and flows throughout the year, each season unlocking a different archetype or consciousness. Modern observers often reduce these celebrations to quaint folklore, yet they are powerful lenses through which entire communities once aligned themselves with cosmic energies. Sacred groves and the sanctity of place. The forest was the Druids' cathedral, and the sacred grove his sanctuary. Historical sources describe the Druids performing ceremonies in clearings surrounded by ancient oaks, the rustling of leaves serving as a natural choir. These groves were carefully chosen, often situated on ley lines or at energetically potent intersections. To the Druids, land was not inert matter, it was alive, pulsating with energies that could heal, protect, or empower those who knew how to harness them. Such beliefs weren't mere superstition. Recent studies in geobiology and earth energies, sometimes termed geomancy, suggest there may indeed be subtle electromagnetic fields converging at certain sites. Ancient people, Druids, shamans, temple builders, seemed exceptionally skilled at detecting and utilizing these fields for spiritual and healing purposes. Stones, trees, rivers, and mountains became living participants in the Druidic rites, symbolizing humanity's oneness with nature. The shapeshifter archetype, mystical transformation legends are rife with Druids who changed form, turning into birds, wolves, or other creatures. While some accounts might be purely mythological, many scholars and esoteric traditions interpret these tales as symbolic of an inner transformation. Through trance, ecstatic dance, or specialized plant elixirs, Druids believed they could adopt the essence of an animal, tapping into heightened senses or instincts. In this altered state, the boundaries of the ordinary self would dissolve, allowing new insights to emerge from the depths of the subconscious or from otherworldly realms. This phenomenon is echoed worldwide in various shamanic cultures, where a shapeshifting serves as a potent metaphor for spiritual metamorphosis. By transcending the ego and embracing an archetypal form, say, an eagle for heightened vision, or a wolf for unity with the pack, practitioners gain wisdom unavailable to the everyday mind. For Druids, such transformations underscored the principle that all life is interconnected and that consciousness can flow into myriad forms when free from rigid belief systems. Rites of passage and the importance of initiation. The path of the Druid was not open to casual seekers. According to historical accounts and later Celtic myths, one had to undergo long years of study, sometimes 2 decades, to master the knowledge necessary to be called a Druid. This intense training involved memorizing epic poems and oral teachings that encoded spiritual laws, historical events, and moral guidelines. Learning the language of symbols, from Ogham, the Druidic script carved on stones, to astral markers in the night sky. Experiencing solitary vigils in the wilderness, where the initiate would commune with nature's spirits, test their courage, and learn self-mastery through isolation. Undergoing initiatory rites that often simulated a symbolic death and rebirth, marking a profound transformation of identity and consciousness. Such initiations mirror those found in other mystery schools, from the Egyptian to the Eleusinian, where seekers symbolically died to their old selves and were reborn into higher awareness. For the Druids, completing these rites meant you were entrusted with sacred duties, mediating disputes, advising tribal leaders, conducting rituals, and preserving the spiritual essence of the people. Druidic ethics and moral philosophy. It's tempting to see the Druids solely as occult practitioners, but they also served as moral philosophers in Celtic society. They advised kings on matters of law and justice, and their influence often prevented unnecessary bloodshed among warring tribes. At the core of Druidic ethics was the principle of balance, both within the individual and in society, harmony with nature, treating the earth with respect and gratitude, recognizing symbiosis between human life and the environment. Honoring ancestry, past generations were not gone, but alive in spirit, guiding the living through memory, tradition, and subtle influence. Upholding truth, in a culture lacking written law, the Druids' word carried weight. They were seen as arbiters of truth, tasked with defending moral and social order. As we see, the Druids were more than mere mystics, they were also statesmen, judges, and philosophers holding together the cultural fabric. Their stance on moral issues derived from a holistic worldview, one where cause and effect operated not just in personal life, but throughout the cosmic tapestry. The astral dimension, Druidic cosmology beyond Earth. While the Druids deeply revered the Earth, their understanding did not stop at this physical plane. Many historians and esoteric researchers assert the Druids were profoundly versed in astronomy or astrology, seeing correlations between the movements of celestial bodies and events on Earth. By tracking the cycles of the sun, moon, and planets, Druids could anticipate seasonal changes, eclipses, and other phenomena that influence ritual timing and manifestation work. In Druidic thought, stars were not just distant suns, they were living symbols. Each constellation carried archetypal significance, weaving together mythic narratives that explained life, death, and rebirth. Alignments of celestial bodies were considered crucial windows when energy flowed more freely between the worlds. One might say the Druids practiced an early form of as above, so below, paralleling the Hermetic principle that celestial alignments mirror and influence terrestrial events. Survival through syncretism and secret transmission. Despite the obliteration campaigns waged by the Roman Empire and the subsequent spread of Christianity, some aspects of Druidic wisdom found subtle ways to survive. In many regions, local priests and monks were themselves the descendants of Druidic families who had converted yet still preserved certain customs and ritual acts. Over time, these became folded into medieval folklore or Christian feast days, creating a syncretic tradition that carried both Christian and pre-Christian elements. For instance, the practice of lighting bonfires on specific feast days, the presence of holy wells, and the veneration of certain saints who suspiciously resemble earlier Celtic deities can be seen as echoes of Druidic spirituality. In some remote areas of Britain, Ireland, and Brittany, families passed on oral histories that contain deeper layers of Druidic lore, though shrouded in legends about fairies, green men, or knights on esoteric quests. The Druidic influence on the Arthurian myths. No examination of Druidic survival would be complete without mentioning the Arthurian legends, tales of a once and future king, a wizard named Merlin, and a band of knights on a spiritual as well as military quest. Many scholars speculate that Merlin is a composite figure heavily inspired by Druidic archetypes, a wise counselor skilled in magic, prophecy, and shape-shifting. Merlin is often depicted as a wild man of the forest, conversing with animals and harnessing the powers of nature, hallmarks of a classical Druid. The Round Table may symbolize equality and harmony, themes aligning with the Druidic ideals of communal balance. Excalibur, the sword from the Lady of the Lake, resonates with Celtic water symbolism and the idea that certain tools or weapons are imbued with the essence of the natural world. Though the Arthurian cycle as we know it has strong Christian overlays, Galahad's quest for the Holy Grail, for instance, it remains steeped in pre-Christian imagery. Thus, even in these chivalric romances, one can sense undercurrents of older Druidic beliefs. The healing arts and herbalism. One of the least discussed but most vital parts of Druidic spirituality was their expertise in healing. They understood that mind, body, and spirit formed a single integrated system, and that illness often stemmed from imbalance, whether due to emotional stress, spiritual disharmony, or disruption in one's energetic field. Druidic healers employed herbal remedies, using local plants for tonic brews, poultices, and teas. Certain herbs were believed to hold magical resonance for specific ailments. Incantations, chanting or spoken spells believed to shift vibrations, clearing blockages in the patient's energy body. Earth energies, laying the ill person in particular stone circles or on ground known for good energy, trusting the natural currents of the land to reharmonize the spirit. Here again, we see parallels to shamanic and even future holistic medical practices. Some of these methods survived Christianization, morphing into folk medicine, though often relabeled as harmless superstition. In reality, they were remnants of a complex system of energetic and consciousness-based healing. Druidic love and the cycle of rebirth. Finally, we come to one of the most inspiring aspects of Druidic belief, the view that love, in all its forms, was an energetic that could transcend time and space. Ancient Celtic tales are filled with tragic romances, star-crossed lovers, and devotion that persists beyond death. While these might seem like poetic flourishes, they point to a deeper concept: the cyclical nature of existence and the idea that souls return to the earth plane to continue their journeys and relationships. Many Druids taught that reincarnation was a core truth of the cosmos, explaining the continuity of souls through various lives. love bonds established in one life do not simply evaporate but carry over, strengthening or complicating the next incarnation. Such beliefs fostered a sense of reverence for each life experience, good or bad, knowing that wisdom accrued might serve you in the next cycle. This attitude toward rebirth and love is reminiscent of certain Eastern philosophies, further supporting the notion that universal truths can surface in distant cultures, each shaped by local customs but echoing a single underlying reality. Even in the hush of centuries, the echoes of Druidic wisdom persist, a testament to the power of truly universal knowledge. Far from an anachronistic curiosity, the Druids embodied timeless truths about nature, spirit, and the interwoven tapestry of existence. Their approach to manifestation was not about quick fixes or superficial affirmations, it was about harmonizing with the entire cosmic structure. Their sense of morality did not arise from human decree, but from a mystical insight into the balances that govern life. As you can see, the Druidic path offered a holistic framework, one that fused astronomy and earth energies, myth and medicine, love and law, inner and outer worlds. Yet this is still not the full story. In the next section, we will dive into how Rome and subsequent authorities systematically vilified the Druids, painting them as barbaric sorcerers who practiced grim rites such as human sacrifice. Were those stories factual, or were they part of a much larger disinformation campaign? Stay tuned. The revelations surrounding the myths, legends, and accusations against Druidism could well redefine your entire perspective on history, religion, and the forces that shape our collective reality. The Roman campaign of vilification. Separating myth from propaganda. By the time Rome had conquered much of Europe, Druidism had become a key obstacle to the empire's full domination. Ancient Roman writings frequently characterized the Druids as barbaric, accusing them of performing human sacrifices and fomenting rebellion. Yet modern historians and archaeologists are divided on how much of this was fact and how much strategic propaganda. Human sacrifice allegations. Some classical accounts, like those of Julius Caesar, depict Druids burning victims in wicker effigies. However, Caesar had strong political motives to demonize Celtic culture, justifying Rome's military aggression. While the Celts may have practiced ritual sacrifice under rare circumstances, as did many ancient cultures, the scope and horror described by Roman authors often feel exaggerated to legitimize conquest. Religious supremacy. Rome's state religion was deeply intertwined with imperial governance. Allowing the Druids to retain their independent power base was perceived as a threat to Roman uniformity. Portraying them as savage sorcerers who needed to be civilized gave Rome an ideological weapon, rallying support for harsh measures to stamp out the last pockets of Celtic resistance. Cultural erasure. Once the empire took hold, it systematically assimilated or destroyed local traditions that didn't align with Roman authority. Even after the Roman era, Christian chroniclers often repeated or amplified older Roman biases, casting Druids in a suspicious light. As centuries passed, legitimate Druidic customs mixed with medieval superstition, fueling a narrative that overshadowed the Druids' profound spiritual insights. Given this backdrop, it's easy to see how genuine Druidic practices, such as herbal healing, communion with nature, and astronomical study, became unfairly lumped with grim fantasies of black magic. The truth, as usual, lies somewhere between the extremes, requiring modern researchers to sift through ancient hyperbole in search of authentic wisdom. The resurgence of Druidic wisdom in modern times. Although Rome and subsequent ruling powers tried to erase or subdue Celtic spirituality, echoes of Druidism re-emerged over the centuries, sometimes in the most unexpected ways. Today, we see neo-Druidic movements, beginning in the 18th century, a cultural and intellectual renaissance swept through Britain and Ireland. Scholars, romantics, and seekers resurrected Celtic symbolism, reintroducing the concept of Druidic orders. Groups like the Ancient Order of Druids sought to revive or reconstruct old practices, although critics argue that these modern revivals contain a blend of scholarly guesswork, Christian influences, and Victorian Romanticism. Modern paganism and Wicca, influenced by Gerald Gardner and other 20th-century figures, Wicca adopted seasonal festivals and reverence for nature that paralleled many Druidic ideals. Meanwhile, pagan networks worldwide, often under the broad term neo-paganism, embraced Celtic gods, myths, and ritual structures that reference old Druidic motifs. Academic and archaeological interest. In the last 100 years, archaeological discoveries, bog bodies in Ireland, structure alignments at Stonehenge, and the design of megalithic sites have led experts to reconsider old Roman accounts. We now realize these prehistoric cultures had remarkable mathematical, astronomical, and spiritual sophistication. This renewed academic attention opens doors to a less biased understanding of Druidic traditions. Nature-based spirituality. Amid the global shift toward eco-consciousness, many people today are reconnecting with earth-based spiritualities that emphasize balance between humanity and the environment. As a result, interest in Celtic rituals, like celebrating solstices or equinoxes in a circle of stones, has soared, reflecting a quest for rootedness in a high-tech, detached world. Core Druidic values for the modern seeker. Across centuries of obscurity and partial revival, certain Druidic principles remain universally applicable, even in the frenetic pace of modern society. Reverence for nature. In a world plagued by ecological crises, the Druidic mindset reminds us to see nature as a living entity. Forests aren't just resources, they are part of a shared consciousness in which we take part. Practical application. Simple acts like gardening with organic methods, choosing sustainable products, and setting aside time to walk or meditate in wild spaces foster a spiritual bond with the earth. Cultivation of inner stillness. With 24/7 connectivity, smartphones, and constant distractions, the quiet traditions of Druidic lore, long hours in sacred groves, silent moonlit vigils, or deep meditation, seem more relevant than ever. Practical application. Regular digital detoxes or daily nature walks can function as mini-groves, allowing for clarity, creativity, and spiritual renewal. Holistic healing. We're witnessing a renaissance in holistic medicine, acknowledging the interplay of mind, body, and spirit, a concept deeply ingrained in Druidic healing. Practical application. Exploring herbal medicine, energy work like Reiki or Qigong, or simply learning more about how emotions affect physical health can echo the integrative approach Druids took to well-being. Ritual and sacred time. While many modern cultures have lost a sense of ritual, the Druids thrived on cyclical, seasonal ceremonies that refreshed both community bonds and individual spiritual focus. Practical application. Observing solstices and equinoxes, lighting candles, sharing intentions, or meditating on the shift in light helps reconnect with cosmic rhythms often overlooked in daily life. Moral responsibility. The Druids bore the role of judges and mediators in Celtic communities, emphasizing balance and fairness. Today's world, rife with social and political divisions, could learn from their commitment to restorative justice and consensus building. Practical application. Engaging in community mediation programs, practicing active listening, and advocating fairness in daily interactions can bring Druidic ethics to life in modern contexts. The modern law of attraction versus Druidic manifestation. In our current era, self-help teachings about the law of attraction often reduce manifestation to positive thinking, vision boards, and affirmations. By contrast, the Druidic approach to manifestation ran deeper, involving ritual precision, seasonal alignments, and unwavering commitment to personal growth. While the modern spin on manifestation can be helpful, it often lacks the ritual intensity and sacred perspective that gave Druidic magic its potency. Energetic exchange. For Druids, creation required giving something back to the land, the spirits, or the cosmic order. This might include offerings of herbs, symbolic items, or personal sacrifices, fasting, abstaining from certain comforts to balance the energetic scales. Group dynamics. The most powerful Druidic rituals often involved communal participation. Today, we talk about group meditations or collective intention setting as a new phenomenon, but the Druids had already mastered collective consciousness long ago. Personal responsibility. Druidic law made it clear that we must hold ourselves accountable for both intended outcomes and unforeseen consequences. Modern manifestation culture sometimes glosses over the ripple effects our actions have on others. The Druids taught that cause and effect extends beyond the individual, rooting us in an intricate web of life. Druidic wisdom in a digital age. One might ask, how does a nature-oriented practice apply when most of us live in urban jungles, reliant on technology? The short answer is adaptation, the same way Druidic knowledge morphed and survived across millennia. Here's how we can adapt. Digital groves. Online communities devoted to Druidic study can form virtual groves, sharing resources and experiences. Though it lacks the tangibility of a sacred oak forest, the intent to revere nature and deepen spiritual inquiry can still flourish in digital circles. Urban sanctuaries, even in the heart of skyscrapers, one can find a city park, a roof garden, or a quiet courtyard that acts as a microcosm of nature's cycles. Mindful observation of local birds, seasonal changes in trees, and the rhythms of urban wildlife can awaken Druidic sensibilities in an unexpected setting. Tech-aided astronomy, the Druids observed cosmic events with naked eyes. Now, we have telescopes, astronomy apps, and real-time satellite data. Harness these tools not just to satisfy curiosity, but to cultivate the sense of wonder that fueled Druidic cosmic awareness. Conscious content creation, Druidic bards and storytellers once shaped their culture's moral and spiritual framework through spoken poetry. Modern content creators, YouTubers, podcasters, bloggers, can become the new bards, using digital platforms to spread messages of harmony, responsibility, and elevated consciousness. Confronting our own shadow, the ongoing relevance of Druidic practices. What truly sets the Druidic paradigm apart is its embrace of shadow elements in the spiritual journey. Druids didn't shy away from darkness, they saw it as a necessary counterpart to light, reflecting the cyclical interplay of life and death, day and night, creation and decay. Shadow work, in psychological terms, shadow work refers to integrating the parts of ourselves we repress or deny. The Druids understood that transformation requires facing fears, regrets, and ancestral traumas. By acknowledging these hidden facets, one can transmute them into wisdom and strength. Seasonal descent, winter, for instance, is not merely a cold, barren stretch, it's the Earth's gestation period, vital for renewal come spring. By paralleling this cyclical view with our inner processes, we learn to honor quiet phases as times of reflection, releasing what no longer serves us. In a society obsessed with productivity and perpetual positivity, the Druidic acceptance of darkness is a radical stance, reminding us that the deepest growth often occurs in the quiet womb of stillness, away from the glare of external achievement. Conclusion: a legacy that transcends time, from mysterious groves to legends of shape-shifting wizards, from alleged human sacrifice to an advanced understanding of astronomy and earth energies. The Druids have held the world's imagination for centuries. Their legacy endures because it speaks to a universal human longing, the desire to feel connected to each other, to nature, to the cosmos, and to the untapped realms within our own souls. In the face of relentless change, empires rising and falling, religions evolving, nations dissolving, the fundamental lessons the Druids championed remain: we are not separate from nature, we are woven into its tapestry. Consciousness shapes reality, but true manifestation requires humility, alignment with cosmic principles, and moral accountability. Spiritual wisdom cannot be fully destroyed. It migrates, adapts, and resurfaces whenever genuine seekers arise. Cycles govern life, and darkness has its place in the grand design as surely as the light does. In many ways, the Druids were harbingers of a consciousness that modern society is only now rediscovering, a worldview that unites spirit and science, faith and reason, earth and cosmos. Whether you stand in a sunlit clearing amid ancient oaks or sit in a high-rise with a laptop, the call remains the same: to step beyond the illusions of separation, to cherish the living world around us, and to consciously co-create our shared reality with reverence and awareness. If there is any enduring message the Druids have left for us, it is this: everything is alive, everything is connected, and everything matters. From the subtlest thought to the mightiest oak, we shape each other in an endless dance of becoming. In that dance lies a doorway to profound meaning and unimagined possibility, if only we have the courage to walk the Druidic path of ancient wonder and everlasting wisdom. With that, our exploration of Druidic spirituality, practices, and legacy comes to a close. We have journeyed through historical records, mythic lore, esoteric principles, and the modern resonances of a tradition that once stood at the heart of Celtic culture. Though suppressed and distorted over time, the spark of Druidic knowledge endures, continuing to illuminate those who seek it with genuine intent and respect. May these lessons kindle your own inner flame, guiding you toward a deeper connection with the world, the cosmos, and the boundless spiritual reality that lies just beyond our ordinary sight.